He sat on the same park bench every Tuesday at 10 a.m., rain or shine. An older man with a worn wool coat and a newspaper he never seemed to read. I passed him for months on my walk to the library, where I would diligently study English alone at a silent table. We were two solitary creatures in a city of millions, orbiting the same patch of green. I never spoke to him. My English was for flashcards and textbooks, not for strangers. My big breakthrough, as I called it, had been ordering a complicated coffee without pointing at the menu. I felt triumphant, but that triumph was hollow. I had no one to share it with. My spoken English was a key that fit no lock. One Tuesday, a sudden spring downpour caught me halfway to the library. I ducked under a tree, but it was useless. Within seconds, I was drenched, and my notebook, filled with precious verb conjugations, was a soggy ruin. I made a desperate, sprinting dash for the only shelter, the covered bandstand in the park. I arrived, breathless and defeated, shaking water from my hair. And there he was, the man from the bench. He nodded at me, a small, calm gesture as if he'd been expecting me. "Spring is full of surprises," he said. His voice was gentle, textured like his coat. I stared. This was an opener. A social cue. My mind, trained for tests, scrambled for the correct response. "Yes, the weather is very unpredictable," I rehearsed internally. But my soaked clothes and ruined notes short-circuited the formality. What came out was a raw, simple truth. "My words," I said, holding up the dripping notebook, "they are washed away." He looked at the ink bleeding across the pages, then back at my face. He didn't smile with pity. He smiled with recognition. "Good," he said, to my astonishment. "Now you have room for new ones. Better ones." He patted the space beside him on the dry bench. "Sit. Let the rain do its work." And so I sat. That was lesson 1. Sometimes you must let the old, rigid language wash away to make space for what is alive. He didn't ask my name. He didn't ask my level. He simply began to talk. He talked about the rain. Not with the vocabulary of my weather chapter. Not with words like precipitation or meteorological, but with the language of feeling and memory. "This is a thinking rain," he said, watching it sheet across the grass. "Not a sad rain. A remembering rain." He told me about the smell of rain on hot pavement in the city where he grew up. A smell he called the earth sighing. I listened, mesmerized. He was painting with words, not building with grammar blocks. I forgot to be nervous. I forgot to correct myself. "In my country," I ventured, "the rain before monsoon is hungry. It eats the dust." His eyes lit up. "Yes. A hungry rain. That is perfect." That was lesson 2. Your unique perspective is your greatest vocabulary. Your metaphors, born from your homeland, are gifts to the language. Our meetings became a Tuesday ritual. No textbooks. No exercises. We just talked. I learned his name was Arthur, and he was a retired librarian. He became the curator of a different kind of library for me. He taught me the language of texture, how a day could be rough or smooth, how a silence could be soft or prickly. He taught me the music of connected speech, how "I am going to" melted into "I'm gone na," without losing its meaning, but gaining a rhythm that felt like belonging. One day I tried to thank him formally. "Arthur, I am so grateful for your instruct." He held up a hand, stopping me. "I am not instructing," he corrected softly. "We are conversing. You are teaching me, too. You taught me about the hungry rain. You taught me that your grandmother's soup was not hot, but a blanket for the soul. That is not my language. That is yours. You are not learning my English. You are remembering your own voice in a new tongue." That was the final, most profound lesson. Fluency is not imitation. It is translation. The translation of your soul, your memories, your very self into the melody of another language. Then the Tuesday came when I arrived, and the bench was empty. Arthur wasn't there. He never was again. I later learned he'd moved to be closer to his daughter. He left no forwarding address, no email. He was simply gone, but he left me with everything. He didn't teach me English. He taught me how to inhabit it. He showed me that language is not a fortress to be stormed with perfect grammar, but a garden to be wandered in, where the most beautiful flowers are the thoughts you plant yourself. Now, when I speak, I don't just use words. I hear the rhythm of a thinking rain. I feel the warmth of a soul blanket soup. I know that my voice, with its unique memories and metaphors, belongs here. The stranger in the park is gone. But the English he helped me find, my English is here to stay. And it all began when I let the rain wash my old words away.